Hello everybody, it's Debbie here again, and today's session I am focused specifically with looking at techniques to help deal with and relieve anxiety. Okay, so like I said, this session is specifically looking at tools and techniques you can use to help relieve anxiety. Okay, so to begin with, I just want to give you a bit of background as to what anxiety does in our body. It's very similar to stress and fear. It activates very similar systems within us. Okay. So what I want to just talk to you briefly about is our body's fight or flight response. Okay, so we have two systems that work alongside each other within our body. They are the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems, and they are each responsible for keeping our automatic systems functioning within our body. So things like breathing and digestion and all of these things that go on without us knowing, that's those two systems are responsible. And it's really useful to think of them like the gas and the brakes to a car. Okay, so when we see a danger, sympathetic nervous system kicks in and accelerates our whole system so that we accelerate out of the danger. Okay, that's the system that activates our flight and our fight response. It quickens our heart rate, it sends that surge of adrenaline to our muscles. It is the system that's activating our digestive system. It's why we quite often need to go to the toilet quickly. It's also triggering the part of our brain that is only interested in survival. Okay, we're going back to caveman days. This is what is triggering that primal part of the brain. So all your body is focused on in that moment is, there's a danger, I need to escape it, or I need to fight it, or I need to freeze and pretend that I'm dead so the animal doesn't attack me. So it really is a very instinctual state that it takes our bodies into. And I want you to hear this and understand this so that, oh, hi Nico, thanks for your comment, by the way. It's what's tailored this session, so I hope it's going to be helpful for you. So I really want you to understand that this happens instantaneously in the body. You might not even recognise that it's happening, but you will be able to feel it. You'll be able to feel the shortness of breath, the quickening of the heart rate, that kind of washing machine feeling going on in the stomach. Okay, when you're in this state, you cannot access that part of your brain that can help you make good decisions. Okay, you're not in the place where your body is concerned with how you deal with multiple things. So I'm sure there's lots of people that are sharing your situation at the moment, Aniko, where there's lots of different things to juggle. You can't see possibly a way forward for how this is going to work, because your body isn't in a state when you're stressed and anxious that it can activate and find that information. Okay. So the first thing we have to do when we sense that we are in this fight or flight response, we can feel it in our body, we can feel the tension. The first thing we have to do is get our bodies to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the brakes of the car. That's the system that kicks in when the danger's past. You know, back in our caveman days, the bear's not there anymore. We can put the brakes on and we can ease off and go back to being relaxed, and you know, our breath can slow down, it deepens, the adrenaline is not released anymore. So what the first thing we need to do is force our bodies to activate this parasympathetic nervous system. And one thing I want you to realise is that these are very physical reactions in the body. So things like the release of adrenaline, the quickening of the heart rate, the surge of adrenaline to the muscles, they're all physical reactions. So honestly, one of the best things you can do to switch your body to this more relaxed state is move it, okay? Literally shake the adrenaline out. Stick on whatever song you want that increases your mood, that gets your, that kind of makes you want to get up and dance, and physically shake that out, okay? It actually really helps your body internally to release all of that adrenaline and hormones that have been released. There's lots of other things. Deep breathing is another technique. The breath is incredible for enabling us to switch in between those two systems. So when we're in fight or flight, we take very short, sharp breaths. And you'll notice this when you're stressed and anxious. It's not until you bring your attention to it, but when you start thinking about it, you can't remember the last time you actually just took a deep breath and filled your lungs full of oxygen, okay? The very nature of the parasympathetic nervous system is that it slows our whole system down. So one of the quickest ways that we can switch and activate that system is to take deep breaths. So practice some deep breathing. I start all of my meditations, and actually I pretty much get up and do this every morning to reset my own system. So it literally is taking a nice deep breath in, just hold it there for a couple of seconds, and then take a deep breath out, and try and make that out breath longer than the in breath. And really just focus on doing this. If you can do this for 2 minutes, it really will just reset your system. Okay, so those are things. There's lots of other things. You can go for a walk out in nature, you might stroke a pet, anything that starts bringing you back to this very relaxed, calm state. Okay, so why I spend the first few minutes explaining this is for the reason that you can't move beyond anxiety unless you can activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It's just not going to work. I could plough all of the techniques in the world at you, and if you're in that survival response, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to filter in. It's not going to help you in any way. So the first thing to do is get into that relaxed state. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do with you is really with regards to if you're feeling anxious about a particular event or a particular situation, this is how you would move beyond anxiety in relation to that. So we're thinking now into the future. If you feel like you're feeling anxious about a lot of different things right now, so maybe you're feeling anxious about work or becoming ill, or family members who are vulnerable becoming ill at the moment, or how the world's going to function, what work's going to be like, there's lots and lots of different things that we might be getting anxious about right now. What I want you to do is just take one of them. So maybe we look at anxiety that you might be feeling about work at the moment. And I just want you to focus all of your energy into just that one event right now. And what I'm going to do is some very brief timeline therapy with you. So this is a really powerful technique, again taken from some neuro-linguistic programming, and this is a way that we start to almost reprogram the neural pathways in our minds. So the first thing that I want you to do is I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to instantaneously think of the answer, okay? So if I were to ask your unconscious mind where your past is and where your future is, I have an idea that you might say it's from the left to the right, or it's from the back to the front, or it's up or down in some relation to your body. It's not your conscious concept that I'm interested in right now, it's your unconscious. So if I were to ask your unconscious mind, where's your past, to what direction would you point? And just whichever feels right for you, just bear that in mind now. So you've got an idea now of where your past is, and with your future, to what direction would you point if I asked your unconscious mind where your future is? Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is just elicit where your timeline is in reference to you. For me, it very much is, I can think past and future. For other people, it's side to side. For other people, it's up and down. Just have an idea for you about where your past and future feel like they sit in relation to you. If you're struggling with that concept, one of the easiest things to do is if I was to ask you what you had or what you did last Monday, where do you feel like you look to get that information? Okay, so now we're going to move on to the anxiety relieving technique. What I want you to understand is that your imagination has the capacity to play you an infinite amount of scenarios. It's like you're sitting in a cinema and there's like an infinite amount of films that can be played out in front of you. That's your imagination. And there's no filter to it, as in it will just keep playing you the things that you keep thinking about the most, okay? There's a massive training session I will do for you on how that works in your brain, but I don't want to inundate you with too much theory right now. But just kind of, for the sake of this exercise, accept that when you're feeling anxious about a particular event or situation, it's because you are focused on one of an infinite number of scenarios that you don't want to happen. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that again. When you are feeling anxious about a situation or event, it's because you are focused on one of an infinite number of scenarios that could happen, and you're focused on the one that you don't want to happen. So you can already see that in order to relieve anxiety about a future event or situation, we have to switch the film. We have to decide that we are going to focus on the outcome that we do want to happen. Okay? Now, you have to direct this. Your mind will keep playing and playing and playing the same scenarios. It will keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into that black hole if you allow it. Or you can literally stand here now, realise that there's an infinite number of films you can choose to play in your mind right now. You are going to choose the one that is showing you the best possible outcome you could wish for, and from that place you relieve the anxiety. Anxiety and excitement feel the same in the body. I just want you to think just right now in terms of how anxiety feels and how excitement feels in your body. Don't think about your mind, think about your body. You have that kind of washing machine feeling, that butterfly feeling in the stomach, your heart rate quickens. So your body will respond the same way regardless of whether you feel anxious or excited. It's what you're telling your mind, what you're telling yourself as to whether that becomes a positive or a negative experience for you. So, really, this is about recognizing that if you are feeling and experiencing anxiety about a situation or event, it's showing you what you don't want to happen. So really, the second you start to feel anxious about an event, that self-awareness needs to kick in and you go, right now I'm focusing on the things that I don't want to happen. Right, I need to switch it. And this is how we switch it. Okay. So, this needs to be quite specific in order for it to work. So right now, I want you to take the one event or situation that you feel most anxious about right now that is in the future. Whether that is going to work, visiting a vulnerable person, might be talking to a family member. I want you to think of one specific event in the future. I just want you to hold that in your mind for a second. So we're now going to use our timeline in order to just play around with this event slightly. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, and I'm going to work purely with your unconscious mind now. So just allow whatever comes up to just come up. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. So close your eyes, and again I'm going to ask you, what are you anxious about? What specifically are you anxious about? I just want you to hold that in your mind. Right, now I want you to float above your timeline. So however you imagined your timeline to be, whether that was back to front or left to right or up and down, I just want you to imagine that you yourself now are floating above that timeline. And I want you to float out above the future to about 15 minutes after the successful completion of the event about which you're anxious. So I want you to imagine you're floating above your timeline, you're moving into the future, and you are moving to 15 minutes after the most successful version of that event you can think of. Okay. Good. So now I want you to turn around and I want you to look along your timeline. Where's the anxiety? I want you to keep floating above your timeline, beyond the successful completion of that event. I want you to focus on what success would look like for you. And I want you to now connect with all of the resources you need in order for that to be the most successful event for you. Okay? I want you to now ask your unconscious mind what it can learn from this event in order to make it as successful for you as possible. How do you know that it will be successful? Just allow whatever comes up to come up, okay? So now I want you to come back along your timeline. Okay, and you can open your eyes and come back to the room now. Okay, so this technique You don't have to imagine the timeline all of the time, but it is about bringing your attention to what the best case scenario would look like for you about the event or the situation that you're feeling anxious about, and allowing yourself to come to like this higher perspective as you look down on the situation and really ask your unconscious mind, what can it learn from this situation? What can it draw from knowing that that's gone really well and it's been the best possible outcome? What can it teach you that is going to help you from where you are now? And our unconscious mind is incredible. It holds an immense resource for us, okay? So it really is about tapping into that, almost like that higher mind, okay? And this is a practice, and it's one that you will do 10, 20, 50 times a day sometimes, because our neural pathways become very ingrained. You know, they become like our motorways. And if we're so used to jumping to the worst case scenario, if we are used to feeling fearful and full of anxiety, if we are used to operating out of our sympathetic nervous system, it will feel unbelievably strange to you to choose to go a different way. It's like when you've been driving the same route on the motorway and you can do it without thinking, and then suddenly there's an accident and you have to divert off down a country lane and you don't know where you're going and you have to really focus and it feels really strange. That's exactly the process that we're going through right now. If you're not used to being in your parasympathetic nervous system, if you're not used to being relaxed, if you're not used to thinking in terms of the best case scenario and trusting that that is possible for you, this will feel alien to you. But this is the practice and this is the work, and I promise you that staying in anxiety, staying in stress, staying in that system that is our survival mode, it will not serve you in the long term. That system was only ever designed to help us momentarily in danger. We were never designed to stay in it. It's what causes so many chronic problems in the body. So your ability to control that, to get into your system that allows you to relax and refocus and connect with that higher mind and find solutions that serve your highest good, that is the work. And you will keep coming back to this time and time and time again. There's no like, oh, quick pill, magic fix, here you go, you've done it once and you'll never have to do it again because you've mastered it. I have to do this multiple times a day, and I've been doing this work for many years. But I promise you that now, when we're in a situation where the world's chaotic, there's very little control over anything that is going on right now, I have this centre. I know that I can switch from stress and anxiety to peace and calmness very quickly. So from that place then I can access decisions that are going to help me. So I hope you found that helpful. It's simple. I'm not going to say it's easy, because if it was really easy, we'd all be mastering this and then there'd be no anxiety in the world. This is a practice and it's a discipline, and we want to make that route to the parasympathetic nervous system, that kind of relaxed state, we want to make that our motorway. Okay, so this is practice, people, and anxiety is your identifier that you need to be getting off that motorway and you need to be imagining that best case scenario. You need to take yourself past that point of what's the best possible outcome for you, and really then operating from that place. And the more that you do this, the more that it becomes second nature, and you're almost able to just kind of pick yourself up, take you out of where you are now, put yourself into the future, ask yourself, okay, what do I need to know that's going to help me right now, and bring that information back to you. Okay, so that's our session on anxiety. I hope that you found it helpful. I will do a whole masterclass around the stress response in our body and what that means. It's such a huge topic, and I've just skimmed the surface of it today, but hopefully there was enough information there to make you understand the need to switch out from those systems and make them work for you. Okay, so I hope that did help you, Iniko. You're welcome. It's definitely a time that we really utilise our ability to make better choices for ourselves. So I will be back soon with some more information and tools and techniques to help you find calm in the chaos. And in the meantime, if there's anything else you'd like help with, just drop me a message and I'll do my best. Bye for now.